What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter. Oh, man, the pre-shows. I'm telling you, Tim. How you doing tonight, Bob?
We couldn't even get through the intro.
No.
Packers Total Access Live. Clayton in Tennessee. You got Tim in Green Bay. We're here talking some ball.
Usually we have about 10 minutes talking before the show. Tim came sliding in 1 minute before, cracked me up, and then we got to hit the live button. So here we are. Hopefully everybody's doing well. I see the chat's filling up here. We got way too many to mention. Appreciate y'all making us a part of your evening. If you would hit that like button on the way in. So the news of the day, outside of stuff that's going on, obviously, with the East-West Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl coming up a little later this week, is Rich Bisaccia has signed an extension. First time I seen it, Easton Butler had tweeted out, and there's several people that have been DMing me about it. Easton Butler said the Packers are signing special teams coordinator Rich Bisaccia to an extension and hiring former Bears head coach and Raiders OC as a senior assistant. I believe they're talking about Luke Getsy, obviously, there. So it looks like him in the picture. So Luke Getsy is not going to be the quarterback coach, Tim, is what I'm hearing, but he is going to be a senior assistant, I guess is the technical term, unless you guys have heard something different posted in the chat. But as far as Rich Bisaccia, it sounded like he was contemplating retiring, if I understood correctly, Tim. And then that was one of the DMs that someone had sent me, that he was pondering retirement, and then they offered him the extension, and he decided just to continue coaching. So it sounds like they made an offer the Paisana couldn't refuse. You know what I'm saying? So
hey, and I love it. And the haters can hate it. I love it.
Yeah.
I hope Rich stays for the long haul. Let's go.
And
yeah, Luke Getsy back too. And let's get it. Let's have another MVP quarterback. You know, let's do it.
Yeah, 2-0 for this says senior assistant. That's correct. That's what I had heard. So there you go. Yeah. So in terms of Rich Bisaccia, I know there's mixed reviews on him. Some people, throw analytics out and say that we're dead last in special teams.
You're an amazing person. You know that, don't you?
Others, treat Bisaccia like he's the best special teams coordinator to ever, walk the earth, right? I think I'm somewhere in the middle, and that's exactly what I wanted in a special teams coordinator. If you're telling me, hey, here's the guy that we can hire and be the best special teams coordinator in football, sign me up. I just don't know who that guy is, right? And all I wanted in a special teams coordinator was someone that didn't screw the pooch, right? And I feel like that's what Rich Bisaccia has done. I've been very vocal about that, so I'm not going to go into great detail. I like the move. I'm okay with it. Here's the thing, too. You can fire him next year if you don't like the way he's performing. If people act like this is we're locked into this dude for a lifetime contract, and that's just simply not the case. So that's kind of how I see it. Drew D mentions in the chat. Actually, here we go. Joseph in the chat first says, I agree, Tim. I don't have a problem with pit boss Rich.
I love it. Yeah. He does kind of look like a pit boss, right? Like that guy come over and yell at you in the casino,
Exactly.
Like
and like Drew D says, Bisaccia is also great for culture, in my opinion. The players obviously love him, right? And again, I don't like to stamp coaches with just, okay, he's a bad coach because the team has underperformed. You guys know I tend to defend the player when they're holding out for a contract because they're trying to get their money. And I tend to defend the coaches a little bit when a player makes a mistake, Like, let me give you an example. Keyshawn Nixon fumbling that kickoff return, that's not Rich Bisaccia's fault, right? That's just the way I see it. If you're going to look at things like that, and I've been pretty vocal about this, then if that's Rich Bisaccia's fault when a special teamer makes a bad play, then you've got to give Rich Bisaccia the credit for Daniel Whelan punting as good as he does and Brandon McManus coming in and kicking the way he did. Now, seems extreme, don't it, if you're not a Bisaccia fan? That's how I kind of look at special teams coordinators. So, right, wrong, indifferent, whatever. So
I'm with you on that. I mean, yeah, Keyshawn, when you're taking a helmet-to-helmet shot like that, dude, you got to hang on to the football.
That's a fact. 2-0 for this says Rich is all right. He can't make the players not make mistakes. He's responsible for Anders, but I don't know if there was something else there, though. Maybe he was saying, but he is responsible for Anders. That was an interesting take there because not too over this is take, but when they drafted Anders Carlson, Rich kind of got the credit for drafting Anders Carlson. However, Goody didn't come out and say Rich made that pick. We just all assumed he was heavily involved. And then Matt LaFleur made a comment when they asked him about would Anders continue to be the kicker moving forward. He said you'd have to ask Rich, which makes you think that Rich was the one making the decision. They could move on from the kicker at any moment. I don't know of another special teams coordinator in the league, me personally, that had the say on whether or not you cut a kicker. You know what I mean? I don't think it's as cut and dry as some fans seen that as. Now, did he recommend Anders, seeing that he had a close relationship with Daniel Carlson and the Carlson family? Absolutely, right. So again, there's plenty of blame to go around with the Anders Carlson move. And the one I put at the forefront is Brian Gutekunst, me personally. You know, Rich Bisaccia does not have the power to sign players on the roster. Goody has to sign off on it first and foremost, and it's Goody's final decision. So if you're going to blame Rich, you better blame Goody too. It's awful convenient to just blame Rich for Anders Carlson when we know Goody could have said no. And listen, there's no surprise to us. We immediately went to the college statistics, right, Tim? We looked at the kick and the field goal percentage, like, hey, I don't know what they see here, but maybe.
That's why I was a huge proponent of, like, he was the guy, let's suck it up and deal with it. And, you know, in the Packers' defense, I think they handled it great. I think if they would have just cut bait too soon, we'd have had a revolving door of kickers in and out of here this whole time. You know, we gave him a year. We rolled with him. Maybe that was Coach Bisaccia sticking up for his guy, you know, and we gave him a whole season, and he never improved. And, you know, we had to make a move, and we did. To our defense, we did. We made a move, and hopefully we make another good move and we extend our boy McMoney. And we don't have this problem, you know, again, for a really, really, really long time, hopefully. So I don't think it's fair to put everything on Rich or Goody. I think, you know, this team and this front office, they're making these decisions as a unit, I really think. And, you know, it's just as much on Matt and senior coaching staff as it is on Goody or Rich Bisaccia, I think.
Right. And I think that's the point you know, kind of where I settle in at, Tim, is like, if you blame him for having Anders Carlson on the roster, then you're saying, okay, he's got final say in who the kicker is. Then you got to give him credit for going and getting Brandon McManus.
Yep.
He, like you said, they fixed the problem. But again, I don't think that's true in either case, that it was his sole decision to get Anders and it was his sole decision to get Brandon McManus. That's just me personally. So I could be wrong, but what the hell do I know?
Yeah, I agree.
Tim said, I agree. What the hell do you know, Clayton? Martin in the chat says, Micah Hyde retired today. I'm sure you've seen this, Tim.
There's a guy.
Yeah, Micah Hyde's best football has been behind him, I feel like, for a couple of years now. Man, that's one of those players, though, I got to say, as a Green Bay Packer fan, you kind of wonder what could the team have been if we had kept him, you know, because he did play some really good football in Buffalo. How do you feel about that with Micah Hyde? Man, I just remember him being that football player, right? Mm-hmm. Like it just seemed like he was always around the ball. He was always making plays, kind of how Evan Williams has felt really, really early. Not only wear the same number, it's easy to draw that comparison, but that's the thing that stood out about Evan Williams in camp, preseason, and then, of course, in the regular season, especially in the first half of the year, is like, man, he just seems to always be in the right spot, you know? That's how I remember Micah. What do you got to say about Micah Hyde?
Yeah, Micah Hyde might have been the guy we got away from too soon, right? You know, he was playing really solid, and then you know, we made the decision that we made to move on. And yeah, hindsight is 2020. I'd love to see if we got some of those prime years out of him here in the green and gold, rather than, you know, watching him move on. He's another one of those, you know, former Packers added to the list of guys that you know, as soon as they left Green Bay, they started balling. And you know, it's tough. You know, Oren Burks is a guy that comes to mind recently. You know, this guy's starting linebacker on a Super Bowl team right now, a guy that we didn't want in camp anymore, and, you know, sent packing. So, you know, and history is full of examples of guys like that, because you never really know. But I do wonder what it would be like if Micah Hyde was here, maybe, I don't know, 2 to 4 more years than he was, you know, Who knows?
Yeah, 2-0 for this says, to be fair, we got screwed on special teams with that opening kickoff in Philly. The league admitted it by finding Burks and then getting the down by contact this week. Completely agree, 2-0 for this. And again, we can't go back and change time, obviously, but I think that's very well said right there. And again, it's easy to put the blame on somebody like Rich Bisaccia. Hell, even Keyshawn Nixon, you know. If there's one thing to blame Keyshawn for, it's like, hey, man, you can't just run into a crowd of people with your head down. You know what I mean? You got to
Yep.
I know his head wasn't technically down, but you know what I mean? You can't just sprint yourself into a crowd of people and expect good things to happen, right? You got to be able to protect the ball and all those things, but it was definitely an illegal hit. And again, I just definitely don't put that on Rich in that scenario. Coach Lynn says, I wish we would have kept him, talking about Micah Hyde. Goot was probably right to move on, though.
Yep.
I think that's a pretty fair statement. As Drew D said, Hyde just got paid so much money. He kind of got bid out of our market, right? And that's the old question. You're willing to overpay for great. You're not willing to overpay for good. I think at a certain point, Micah Hyde was a great player. But to say he was great his entire career, obviously, is just not true. So it's kind of one of those tweeners that Goody steered in the opposite direction. I believe it was Goody, right? Or was it Ted Thompson? I'm trying to think what year Micah Hyde.
No, that would be Ted Thompson. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking it was Ted Thompson. But
in one of those scenarios, right, you overpay for great, not for good. And maybe they felt like Micah was really good, but they just didn't want to come over the top and overpay.
Right. Exactly right. Joe in the chat, Hyde and Hayward were two people, once they got away from Green Bay, their careers took off. Yeah, Casey Hayward showed some glimpses of it while he was here. But, man, as soon as he got out of Green Bay, it was like, bang, he was a ball hawk. But correct me if I'm wrong, it kind of feels like Casey Hayward did not continue that pace very long. I want to say it was 2 or 3 years that he played really good football. So another kind of tweener, if you will, right? That, hey, yeah, if you can get his best years for, the duration of an entire contract, great. But I don't know if Casey Hayward was considered the best the entire time he was away from Green Bay. You know what I mean? Like when I say the best, I mean, top 5, top 10 in his position, that type of player. So, but Hayward was a lot of fun, though. He was a lot of fun to watch for sure. All right, let's see here. What else we got in the chat? Anything else? As a matter of fact, let's move on to another topic. I'm going to try not to laugh too much here, boys, but the theme this year is definitely awkward coaches, right? Awkward coaching changes.
Get ready to go.
There's the poster child, of course. Not sure if you guys seen this, but I thought it was AI generated, Tim, until people had confirmed with me it was not. But Liam Cohen, your new head coach in Duval down there with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let me just hit it once for you here.
Duval.
Cornball.
Ball.
This man right here, let me tell you something. He is 173.5% Caucasian. All right. He is from the mountains of Caucasus. Look at this. I'm gonna do it slow motion. Just look at this. Right there. That's the picture you need. That's the screen grab you need.
Duval.
Am I the only person that is sensing the theme this offseason going, what the hell is wrong with these coaching hires? Why are they all acting like a bunch of Is it just me, Tim? Listen, I'm a weird human being myself. Don't get me wrong.
Hey, man, they can't all be as cool as Tupac LaFleur, man.
Exactly. And, we were just talking about Rich Bisaccia, right? Could you imagine you sign Rich Bisaccia to a deal and he gets up at the podium and does that?
Oh, never. I can't even picture him doing that. No, it's too real. Rich is too much of a no-nonsense kind of guy for that.
Yeah. And see, this is what Drew D's saying right here is what I'm talking about. Many other people, Josh Martin, everybody in the chat saying he's weird, right? Owns MD1. Here's a guy, a very white guy. All right. Drew D says, imagine that being your coach coming into the building. Seriously, like you're trying to kind of get yourself ready to go out there and do battle, right? Risk your career with the physicality that goes with the sport that we all love. And grown to love in the National Football League. And that's the dude right there you're following into battle. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just
Playoffs?
That's what they're going to be saying in Jacksonville for a while.
Really strange. Just a really strange look, man. Here we go. 2 over this. They had to be looking at Mike McDaniel and like the awkwardness, so they found this guy. At least Mike McDaniel comes across like what he's trying to accomplish, right? He's trying to be the hip, cool. Maybe that's what Liam Cohen was trying to do here, but boy, oh boy, it was awkward. That's all I'll say. So,
swing and a miss.
The only thing better than listening to that video is if we do it in slow motion. Let's do it once at half speed. I gotta see. All right, here, let's see what it sounds like at half speed, Tim.
Duval.
How do you play for that guy, Tim? I don't get it, man. I don't understand it. Anyway.
I don't know, but you got to be ready to go.
Get ready to go.
Oh man. So obviously we got East West Shrine talk here, getting ready to go as Thursday night. They're going to play the East West Shrine Bowl. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys, I apologize for rerouting the show here with the awkward coaches, but I just had to show it. I'm glad other people thought it was interesting too.
Duval.
Tim, you guys, we're not going to get through this show. You guys have heard us talk about Nick Nash, right? And I'm going to try not to get us a copy right here. Obviously, the East West Shrine Bowl page put this out, but pretty cool catch that old Nick Nash makes here. We talked about him, wide receiver in this year's draft, going up and just making a play, right? Pretty cool stuff there from him. And this is the type of stuff that you've got going on all week long, Tim, with the East West Shrine game. I know I'd sent you a link. I need to get that link to everyone else. If you Google it, sure you can find it. But the East West Shrine practices all week long. There's a website. Tim, do you remember the name of the website? I know I sent it to you earlier. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right
Okay.
now.
I definitely want to get that to everybody because it's a really, really cool resource. There's a
Lights Out Sports TV. Yeah.
So if you go to Lights Out Sports TV, you'll see live tabs at the bottom, and I'm sure they'll do it again tomorrow. Like today, it kicked off at like 8:20 a.m. I think Eastern time, might have been Central, but basically what they're doing is they're giving practice coverage from the East West Shrine game all week long. And Tim, it was pretty solid coverage too, wasn't it, man? Everything in 4K looked good, looked crisp. I thought that the announcers were real professional. So if you guys want to keep up, go find that. Did you get a chance to check some more of it out?
Yeah, I did. I listened for a little bit today while I was doing some stuff around the house. Really good coverage, though. I think it's awesome, man. A chance to get a look at some of the practices too, which is kind of a change of pace.
Yeah, completely agree, man. Completely agree. All right, so let's hit some of these players. We just talked about Nash, right? Let's see where Nash is on our board. Nick Nash is currently in the 116 spot on our consensus, on our big board, I should say. He's 171 on the consensus big board. He's 106 on the PFF big board. He was the 20th highest graded receiver in 2024, according to PFF. And in 2023, he was 381st. So he took a big jump. So I think this East West Shrine Bowl and the practices all week long is a chance for him to improve his stock. But on our board, Tim, he's hovering right around the 115 mark there out of San Jose State. So we'll keep an eye on him. That might be someone that the Packers could potentially have their eye on, although I don't think I've seen any reports on that yet. Now, the next player the Packers did meet with, and again, shout out to Easton Butler for compiling all this information for us. Go give him a follow at Easton__Butler over on X. He said the Packers met with Clemson defensive tackle Peyton Page at the Shrine Bowl.
Here's a guy.
We got a defensive tackle, another defensive tackle here on the radar for the Packers, Tim. I'm going to take a quick gander in our draft board here, and let's see exactly where Peyton Page is, if he's on the board yet.
That's awesome. It's a nice reminder that it's not just, Talik Williams and Deion Walker on the board for me. So someone else to take a look at. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah, so as of right now, I don't see Peyton Page on our board. So I'm sure he might be in there somewhere, and I've been trying to make a list, so I'm going to continue to make that list. So we're going to put Peyton Page. And there was a couple I mentioned earlier today, one of which I did end up finding on the board, and I think we corrected that. But Emilio will probably hear this later, and we'll get him added in again. So defensive tackle Peyton Page was not on our board. However, let's see where he's at on the consensus big board, and we'll make sure we get him added to ours. So Peyton Page, where are you at, sir? I'm looking for an interior defensive lineman. That is what it says, right? Defensive tackle.
Yep.
Peyton Page. Okay, that's why. He's ranked 601st on the consensus big board. He peaked at 462. So he's most likely going to be an undrafted free agent unless he can just improve his stock tremendously here at the East West Shrine Bowl, potentially be a late round pick, 6th, 7th round or something like that. So there you go. Drew D says, I love that the Packers are meeting with players at positions that we identified as our biggest needs. Drew, I didn't want to say that because it kind of looks like I'm running a victory lap, but I thought the same thing, man. The positions we've talked about are the ones that they're really spending time meeting the players with, right? So that stood out to me too. It really did, which is exciting. So it kind of kind of gives you a little confirmation we're in the right direction. Anything you want to add to Peyton Page? Anything at all, Tim, before we move on to the next prospect here?
No, just that I would agree with your sentiment that if he breaks out in the Shrine game, then maybe he jumps into a 7th round pick or something, but probably going to go undrafted. Still worth taking a look at though, even though he's not on the big board.
Yeah, definitely, man. And again, these are all players that Easton Butler has uncovered the Packers have met with. Okay, so let's move along to the next one here on the list, and that is linebacker Carson Bruner. Okay, Carson Bruner at the linebacker position. Let's see where he's at on the consensus big board. Carson Bruner, again, linebacker. On our needs, we have them needing 2 linebackers to add to this roster. That is before free agency, of course. They could get a few of those filled. Bruner is 411th on the consensus big board. He's out of Washington, okay, played for the Huskies, and he peaked at 185. So something obviously happened. Could have been an injury, I don't know, but something happened to drop him down significantly on the consensus big board. And again, that is Carson Bruner out of Washington. Let me go to our board and see exactly where we've got him at. And let's see here.
Thick.
Yes, he is. Carson Bruner, we have currently in the 411 spot. Okay, so that's where he's sitting at the moment. We'll keep an eye on him as we get a little closer to the draft. Anything you want to add on Carson Bruner here, Tim?
Yeah, I did not have him on my short list either. So thank God we got Easton Butler out here doing the Lord's work, man, making sure we know who the Packers are looking at. Because if they're taking meetings with guys, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to, draft them or pull the trigger, but it certainly means that they're on the radar. And if they're on Goody's radar, they should probably be on our radar too.
Yeah, I agree. Like Drew D says here too, it's important to develop relationships with undrafted free agents because they get to pick where they go. It's a great point. It really is. And that's, as long as you're kind of showing that interest and letting them know where they may or may not fit in with their team, whether it's offense or defense or even a special teams player, I think that means a lot to these young players to go, hey, I've got 3 choices of teams to sign with, and the Packers were the only team that met with me. If that was the case, just as an example here, you're obviously going to choose the team that showed a little more interest in you, took the time to actually get to know you a little bit at these All-Star games. So
we got a pretty good track record with UDFAs too, and guys from smaller schools too, for that matter. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. Completely agree. All right, let's move it along. Another player. Here we go again. Defensive lineman, once again, Joseph Evans out of UTSA. The Packers, it says the Packers were one of 18 teams to meet with defensive lineman Joseph Evans. So obviously he's stirring up a lot of competition within the organization, within the different NFL teams here. Let's see if we can find him on the consensus big board.
Thick.
Joseph Evans. Let's see where he's at. Surely he's toward the bottom, I would imagine, being a smaller school, but maybe not. Let's see here. Joseph Evans. Joseph Evans, where are you, sir? Man, if he's on here, he's way down there unless I missed him. I'll scroll back one more time. You got anything on him, Tim?
No, I have nothing. Okay. So he's got to be 500 plus, probably somewhere.
Yeah, unless he's at a different position. Let me check edge because sometimes the consensus big board can get this stuff screwed up a little bit. I'm going to check our board in a second. It's a little easier to search it. But, again, they're saying defensive lineman. So let's go edge defender, and we're looking for Joseph Evans. Boy, the consensus big board must be getting some traffic because it is struggling tonight. Holy cow. All right, let's see here. Joseph Evans. Anywhere. I don't see him anywhere, boys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Joseph Evans is probably pretty far down the list, might not even be on anyone's list. There's no point in searching our board. So there's another one, potential UDFA that they're interested in. Now,
this got 18 teams looking at him, though, and taking meetings. So he's on somebody's radar.
It says a lot, that's for sure, man. This guy you probably heard of, Joe Huber.
Here's the guy.
Joe Huber, offensive lineman out of Wisconsin, met with the Packers. I know everybody's going to get excited about this one, and rightfully so. I'm not sure if he played tackle or if he played interior, but let me do a quick search here. Anybody got anything on Joe Huber in the chat? And Tim, if you want to read any of those chats while we're looking, you just fire away while we're digging through the information. I think this is the time to do this type of stuff. Is we got Joe Huber in the 230 spot on our big board. Now check this out, Tim. This is kind of cool. He's sitting at 230, okay? PFF in 2022, he had the 19th highest grade for interior. I'm guessing it was guard because it's interior offensive line. We've got him listed as a guard. So he was the 19th highest graded guard in all of college football in 2022. He dropped down to 90th in 23, 142nd in 24. The consensus big board has him at the 329 spot. The PFF big board had him at 279. I'm sure there's plenty of Badger fans here in the chat that know a little more about him. So you got anything in the chat right now or no, Tim?
Yeah, Smitty in here played a little left guard in 2023. So that's food for thought there. So maybe a versatile kind of O-lineman, maybe a plug-and-play guy.
Got it. Good stuff. So there is your Wisconsin Badger on the list. Up next, you've got Kansas offensive lineman Bryce Cabeldu. Does that sound right, Tim? Cabeldu?
Yeah.
Right. I think we got it.
Cable do, like Jacob. Hey, the cables do, man. Pay the bill.
And in that case, you just let the neighbor do it. So you can
just let the neighbor do it, right? Just run another wire across. There you go.
Exactly. When they cut that wire, listen, those wires are cheaper than that monthly bill. You know what I mean? Just go get another one. Good. Not that I've ever done that. But, yeah, here we go. Offensive tackle is what he's listed at on our big board. He's in the 170 spot. PFF grade starting in 22. He was the 400th graded offensive tackle. Then he jumped all the way to 105 in 23. In 24, he jumps all the way to 35. And then on the PFF big board, he's sitting in the 266 spot. We don't have a consensus big board for him on our board. However, like I said, he's sitting in the 170 spot right now. Let me just take a quick gander here and see if we can find him out of Kansas, right? Let's just look for this Kansas logo real quick. Anything you want to add to him? Anybody got anything on him at all, too?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat.
Okay.
Smitty, 310 pounds. I think he's still talking about our boy from Wisconsin, though.
I got you. Yeah, so I don't see him on the big board, so I'm assuming they don't have him on there yet, and they'll probably throw him on later. But yeah, in terms of our board, he's definitely on our board. The only information we're lacking right now is the consensus big board. So once we get that in, that'll probably drop him down significantly. If he's not on the big board right now, Tim, he'll probably be outside of the top 300, which is going to drop him down probably outside of our 200 once we get that info in. So just something to keep an eye on there. But you're noticing, like what Drew was saying, man, defensive tackle, right? We got several of those. We got a couple of linebackers we talked about, and it's mostly interior offensive line, right? And, a little offensive tackle too, which we know Packers aren't scared to kick those guys inside if they need to.
We're going trenches if we pick in the first round for sure. If we stick and pick, it's probably going to be D-line or O-line. My best guess.
Completely agree. All right, we got our first wide receiver of the night on the board here, and that is Will Sheppard. Will Sheppard out of Colorado, okay? And Will Sheppard is currently in the 393 spot for us, okay? So he's 393rd on our big board. In 22, he was the 152nd graded wide receiver. In 23, he was 390th. In 24, he dropped all the way to 712. But the thing that's really bringing him up is that 22 grade, along with being 199th on the consensus big board and 238th on the PFF big board. So he's currently sitting in the 393 spot for us. I think it goes without saying, probably a good candidate to be an undrafted free agent. But Deion Sanders, man, he's starting to churn out some pro prospects, and as he returns to Colorado, what you're going to see, it's going to become easier and easier to recruit out there as you're kind of creating that pipeline to the NFL. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, he's over 6 feet tall. Keep him on your radar. He meets my qualification, right?
Tim's like, listen, I'm tired of these shrimps, man. We need some big body receivers in here, right? No doubt about it.
Sure. I think he's like 6'2" or 6'3", so he's up there.
Unbelievable. Dennis Shook said Emilio got tagged by us and Selena Gomez is distraught over it. So, a little 2 for 1 there. I don't know where Emilio is tonight, but wherever he's at, I'm sure he's doing just fine. He might be laying low. You never know. So, Will Sheppard again. All right, next we got this is kind of a smaller school, Eastern Washington, Tim. And Easton Butler put this out here from Eastern Washington, wide receiver Efton Chisholm. If he's on our board, then Emilio deserves a raise. That's all I got to say. Okay,
yeah, he's definitely not on my hot list.
Let's see if we can find him here.
Here's the guy.
Efton Chisholm. Nope. Get the Efton out of here. He's not on our board yet, Tim. So we'll keep
And
an
he's
eye on
5'11". I'm not interested.
So there you go. And again, Eastern Washington. I'd never heard of that school before. There's been some good players come out of those small schools as wide receivers too, though. I think of, and most of the time it's like quarterbacks that convert over to wide receiver, right? Typically, you quarterback the best player on those small schools, and then you end up converting them to wide receiver. And it's amazing how playing quarterback transitions to playing wide receiver because you truly understand what the quarterback is looking for in certain routes, breaking them off, that type of thing. From the quarterback, you're basically playing wide receiver from the quarterback's perspective. That's got to give you a little bit of an edge for sure. So
Yeah.
I think this is somebody that's probably going to be an undrafted free agent if the Packers look to potentially get him on their roster. I don't think it's going to be anybody that they're going to draft, at least at the moment. It doesn't seem like it. So here's another defensive tackle. Again, Easton Butler. All these are from Easton Butler, guys. I want to give him credit. He's done a hell of a bunch of work for everybody in Packer Nation. So make sure you go give him a follow at Easton__Butler. The Packers met with Boston College defensive lineman Cam Horsley at the Shrine Bowl. Okay, so this is defensive lineman Cam Horsley. Let's see if I can find him real quick on the big board here. And Cam Horsley is currently sitting in the 262 spot on our board. PFF grades. In 22, he was ranked 293rd at defensive line. He jumped to 199 in 23. Then jumped to 54 and 24. I mean, you're talking about a significant improvement every year according to PFF. He lands at 179 on the PFF big board, but on the consensus big board, he was sitting at 356. So, again, we have him in the 262 spot. If that were to hold true until the draft, Cam Horsley, defensive tackle, might be one of those guys you could take with the 7th-round pick, something like that.
Thick.
He's thick, and he played for that man right there. Let's not forget that.
Exactly.
So I'm assuming Jeff Hafley coached him a couple of years. So
it makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense that he's here, or not here, but that they're taking visits with him for sure. I'm sure he's on the radar.
Yeah, and Cam Horsley, again, he improved every year according to PFF. He's 6'4", 306. That's really good size. Really good size. So probably a little bit leaner guy at 6'4", 306 than like your 6'2", 306, obviously. So probably someone who could play a little 3-tech. Let me see where he lined up at. Yep, we hit it right on the head, Tim. Starting in 2022, he was predominantly a 3-tech. 2023, he was a 3-tech. And then his last year in college, he played 289 snaps at 3-tech and 149 in the A-gap. So it might be one of those situations that someone that put on a little weight there his last year in school to be able to fill that A-gap a little bit. But pass rush grade of 68.2, run defense grade of 85.1, pass rush win rate of 7.9%. That's above the three-quarter mark. True pass set pass rush grade of 71.1. That's above the three-quarter mark. His run stop rate, Tim, listen to this. It is pegged completely out at 14.4%. So he's a run stopper with a 7.9% pass rush win rate. That's a dude get a little bit excited about, man.
Yeah, especially since you don't have to burn up a top-tier draft pick to get him, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
and again, PFF has him in the 187 spot. And do we got our picks up right now? We don't. Let me throw that banner up real quick. Let's see. So if he were to fall to 187, what pick roughly would we want to use to grab him? Probably right 158 or 196, right? 5th or 6th round pick is what you're looking at there roughly. And again, that's going to shuffle around. We kind of goes without saying, but we're always going to mention it. So keep in mind that if you're going to look for a player like this, if the draft were to be tomorrow, the consensus big board was correct, the PFF big board was correct, he's probably a little lower than what the PFF big board says. So probably be closer to the 6th or 7th round. You can snatch him up. So good grades, man. You're looking for that improvement for sure.
Yep.
All right, moving along. We got another defensive lineman. Surprise, surprise. Defensive lineman C.J. West out of Indiana. The Packers met with him, okay? And C.J. West, let's see if we can figure out exactly where he's at. He's actually higher, Tim, than Cam Horsley. PFF Big Board has him in the 167 spot currently. Listen to these PFF grades, man. 80.1, 85.9, 83.9. He scored in the 80s all 3 years. And you're talking about 383 snaps, 468 snaps, 420 snaps for CJ West out of Indiana. Indiana really turned the corner this year, man. Obviously making it to the college football playoffs and holding their own against the nation's top talent. He played in the A gap more last year than the B gap, so he's more of a 1-tech than a 3-tech last year. However, the year before, where he had another great grade, probably his best grade actually, right? 85.9.
Yep.
He was in the 3-tech, 384 snaps. And then the year before, where he scored an 80.1, he was back in the A gap playing 1-tech with 322 snaps there. That's an interesting prospect there, man. That's one to keep your eye on. CJ West out of Indiana. Because
redshirt senior, 6'2", 317, big boy. So, definitely keep an eye on him.
Yeah. Pass rush grade 72.9. It's almost pegged out. True pass rush grade at the 3-quarter mark at 70.1. His run stop rate 11.4%. It's right at the top. Pass rush win rate 10.1%. It's in between the 3-quarter and the full mark. And then his run defense grade is right at the top, 88.1 run defense grade. CJ West is a dude that that's one to get excited about. That just feels like a goody pick. Someone that's not on the major radar, but you just end up getting great value. And that last game against Notre Dame, Tim, where they played in the playoffs there, and I know Indiana got beat. His grade that game though, 81.4 against Notre Dame. And
wow.
Probably why it was a little bit more difficult to get the running game going than Notre Dame was used to most of the year. So also Michigan at home, big game there, right? 81.6 Michigan at home. Washington Huskies at home, 79.1. So play some damn good football this year, man. This is a dude probably on my short list, man. I don't think I had him on my cheat sheet either, did I? Let me see here.
I certainly didn't.
Yep, I didn't. So that's one that'll get added. There's no doubt.
He's there now, though.
Let me see where he's at on our board. I gotta know this. I kind of just jumped over to PFF to see. Let me see where CJ West is on our big board, because I bet he's probably going to be in a pretty good spot. Let's see. We're throwing an error message. Emilio might have locked the. He heard that ice comment and locked up the board on us here, I believe. He's not popping up. Holy cow. That is interesting. Let me just type in West in case they're not using his initials. Several Wests here. Yeah, I don't see him on the big board. Interesting, man.
Wow.
So we'll make sure he's on there. Let me write that one down. CJ West out of Indiana. So, again, Drew, man, I keep going back to his comment, but it's so true. Looks like Goody's thinking the same thing. Let's figure this damn 3-tech thing out this year. Let's waste no more time. Yeah, there you go, Deadfish. CJ West, 6'2", 317 pounds, 5'2" speed. So
thick.
Obviously the speed ain't nothing to write home about, but 317 pounds, man. 5'2's moving. It really is. So, All right, moving along here. See, we already got a couple of names that we need to do a little more research on. Next, you've got defensive lineman Jordan Phillips out of Maryland. So Jordan Phillips out of Maryland. Let's see if he's higher or lower than these guys. Looks like he might be lower, I believe. So let's slide down and see if we can find Jordan Phillips. Jordan Phillips, where are you at, sir? He's not on page 1. That's not a good sign, Tim. 275 on the consensus, or on the PFF big board. 57.2, 71.8, 71.3 for Jordan Phillips. So this is a guy that's probably going to be much later in the draft, out of like I said, out of Maryland.
Yeah, it looks like that. He might be a UDFA for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to see where he falls. Hold up a minute, Tim. Look at this. There's a big discrepancy there. Jordan Phillips is sitting in the 150 spot. I wonder if there's an injury involved there, because he peaked at 70, but he's sitting 150 on the consensus big board. Let me see if I can find him on our board real quick. That's interesting, man, that PFF has him so low. But let's see here. Jordan Phillips. Jordan Phillips is sitting in the 292 spot for us. So that's one of those situations where the consensus big board raised him way up, and PFF pulled him down to 292 on our board. So I'm eager to see what the consensus big board, why he's so high on it, but the grades were so low. You know what I mean? Maybe it's
weird.
No, really strange. So again, another defensive lineman, Jordan Phillips. Going to be at the Shrine Bowl there Thursday night, coming out of Maryland. All right, and then we got the coaching news, and we're all caught up, Tim. That's pretty much all of them. So there you go. There's your update on the East-West Shrine Bowl and all the players that the Packers have been meeting with. So Holmes MD1 says PFF sucks more than this show. There's nothing that sucks more than this show, sir. Let's keep it honest here, okay? Let me go now to our Patreon group because I think somebody had mentioned a prospect in there as well. If we can get it to load up quick enough. I want to say someone had recommended a prospect maybe. Not under the questions. Where was it at? Favorite prospects. Here we go.
Shout out to Milltown Corey real quick. Jordan Phillips, only 20 years old as well. Something to point out. Looked like he transferred freshman year from Tennessee and then went to Maryland. 6'3", 320, man. Someone to keep on the board for sure.
Goody DiCaprio, right?
Yeah, that's right.
He likes, how Goody likes those younger prospects, man. My man is he'll be all over that. So Joshua Dodge says, have we looked at Clay Webb, Jacksonville State left guard, 82 PFF grade last year, but that's all I can see from him. Only thing is that is all he played throughout college. Okay, so Jacksonville State, we're looking for Clay Webb. Let me check our board real quick and see if we got anything on him. Let's go.
Is he he's a guard.
Yeah, holy cow, Tim. Looky here, boy. I like it. Shout out to Joshua Dodge here, man.
Yep.
So we've got him in the 110 spot. Listen to these grades. 2022 PFF, right? Matter of fact, let's just pull his grade. We won't put it on the screen, but let me find him on the PFF board. This is really impressive from the rankings that we've got on our board. And the reason he's so high, again, Clay Webb, where you at, sir? Okay. So PFF Big Board has him in the 209 spot, right? Because he played at Jacksonville State. Here are the grades, though. 80, 87.4, and 82.0. Run block grade, 82.7. Zone grade, 84.9. Gap grade, 68.7. That's almost completely maxed out. Pass block grade, however, right just slightly above the median line, and his true pass set pass block grade is below the median line at 54.5. So he's a run blocking guard, right? And he played for a small school. Great PFF grades, but again, doesn't look like pass blocking is a specialty. He's got all of his snaps, pretty much all of his snaps, all but one in 2022 were at left guard. So again, why are we mentioning him from Jacksonville State? PFF says he's a dog, right? He's sitting in the 209 spot, according to PFF's board. On our board, he's sitting in the 110 spot. However, this week, Thursday night, East-West Shrine Bowl, that's a guy you want to see how he performs against other talent at that All-Star game, right? That could be huge for him to show that he can pass block. So
I've got him fourth on my list of guards. I got Luke Kendrick, Connor Colby, Marcus Weir, and then Clay Webb. So he was on my my short list. Definitely somebody to watch this week for sure.
Heck yeah. Another one here is mentioned by Dave Colvin, defensive tackle, TJ Sanders. All right. Came up in a mock draft on Pro Football Network. He dropped from 62, and I got him at 87. This is Dave Colvin talking. Defensive tackle, South Carolina, 6'4", 290. That kind of feels like a three-tech, right? TJ Sanders is a disruptive interior defensive lineman with a combination of quickness and power that makes him a consistent threat in the trenches. He excels at penetrating gaps with his explosive first step, creating problems for opposing offensive lines. Sanders shows good hand usage to shed blocks and maintains leverage to anchor effectively against the run. His ability to collapse the pocket as a pass rusher adds significant value as he can pressure quarterbacks from the interior. Continued refinement of his technique and pad level will elevate his game further. Sanders' motor and playmaking ability are standout traits. So there's a high motor guy with TJ Sanders. Tim, you got anything on Sanders right off the bat? TJ Sanders, again, out of South Carolina. I'm going to see if I can find him on our board.
I don't have him on my list, but I think you're right, man. That looks like a three-tech in the making right there. I'm sure we can give him some good old Wisconsin cheese curds and get him up over 300, you know. Probably put 10 pounds of cheese curd weight on for sure.
Cheese curds make my stomach hurt all the time, but I do eat them, though.
I've got a Sanders from South Carolina, but it's Raheem Sanders, and he's a running back. So I don't have a TJ Sanders on the board right now. Let me just double check. Yeah, we don't have him in, so let's put him down. And again, that's a defensive tackle, right? Sorry, I'm not speaking in the mic. I apologize. TJ Sanders from South Carolina. So
I can't find him on any of these boards here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to look for real quick, see if we could find anything on the PFF board real quick. Let's go defensive tackle, interior defensive lineman, TJ. Oh, yeah, there he is. How the hell do we not have TJ Sanders in there? There might be something going on with the search tonight because there's been several players that are kind of high. But, yeah, Tim, TJ Sanders, according to PFF, is 35th on the PFF big board. His PFF grades were 57, 72, 82. So he got significantly better every single year. 6'4", 290. He's only 21 years old. Let's see if he's that high on the consensus big board. Yeah, 57th. He peaked at 45. He's going to be – they're showing a Reese's logo here. So he's going to be at the Reese's Senior Bowl. So keep that in mind there. That'll be a name to look for. So, yeah, we got to figure out why. Let me sort our board just to make sure. I could be wrong. Let's go sort A to Z and see if TJ Sanders pops up here because he's got some pretty damn good grades here. Let's see. TJ Sanders. Surely he's on here somewhere in the search. Yeah, he's on here. So the search is messing up on me a little bit. We've got him in the 35 spot, Tim. That's where we got him on our board. So that's right there in the wheelhouse, man. I see why Goody wants to meet with him. That's he's most likely going to be available, right? When they pick, right? So
yeah, it certainly seems like it. And I mean, man, anything in the trenches, like we said, dude. That's why I love Goody, man. He's covering all the bases. You know, under the radar, over the radar, doesn't matter. We're leaving no stone unturned. We got to get better in the trenches.
Yeah, for sure. Arizona Marky Mark in the Patreon PTA favorite draft prospect page here says, here's a good center prospect out of Boston College, Drew Kendall. I think we talked about Drew Kendall a little bit, haven't we? Sounds familiar. Let me go back to the interior offensive line or center specifically and see where Drew Kendall is. So PFF has him in the 246 spot. His PFF grades were 60, 70, and 78. He was the 12th highest graded center in all of college football this year. So he got better every single year, 6'4", 299. So he's got some good height for a center there, right? Most of these centers are they're getting taller as the years go on. I remember the days it was 6'1", 6'2" was like the norm.
Good old Frankie bag of donuts, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now you got 6'3", 6'5", 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", 6'4", 6'5". So it's kind of common to get above 6'3" now at the center position. But, yeah, Drew Kendall is going to be interesting. He got better every year, 12th highest graded center. He was higher than Jake Majors, according to PFF grades, who was significantly higher than him on their big board at 169. He finished higher than Seth McLaughlin, who is in the 161 spot. He also finished higher than Jonah Monheim, who is in the 148 spot. And looks like the only center in this year's draft that he didn't have a higher grade than is Jared Wilson, center out of Georgia, who most likely will be the top center taken in the draft. So, again, Arizona Marky Mark with that recommendation there from Drew Kendall.
Another guy who played for Coach Hafley as well.
Yeah, that's true, right? It's a good point. Unless he transferred recently, but I'd say he probably did play his entire career. As a matter of fact, it probably shows here, right? Let me go back to him again. Drew Kendall. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mention any other teams, so he probably did play his entire career there with BC. So interesting. And Drew Kendall on the consensus big board is currently sitting, where are you at, sir? 221. He peaked at 212. So he dropped down 3 spots, and it does mention that he will be at the East-West Shrine game. So there you go with Drew Kendall. It might be one of those situations too, Tim. We're sitting here talking about the Packers potentially taking a tackle and switching on the guard or just drafting a guard and moving Elton to center. Who knows, man? They might take a swing here outside of the first couple of rounds and go for one of these centers that, since it's, like none of them are really sticking out as like a second-round pick, right? It seems like it's going to be third round or later before the top center's taken. Who knows, man? Goody may jump up there and surprise everybody.
That's true, because you can always move Elton over. You can always move a guy over. Why not take a swing in the draft if, maybe you get lucky and hit on somebody and we solve our center problem without, auctioning off too much draft capital.
Right. And Drew Kendall is on our board at 162. So again, his positional ranking at center, I believe it's not interior offensive line. It's just center. Yeah, it would have been center. Was 173, 52, then 12. So he increased significantly every year, like we said. And when we took the information down, the consensus big board had him at 220. PFF big board had him at 232. So there you go. That is Drew Kendall, center out of BC, man. Seen a lot of BC prospects pop up here, man. You could tell Hafley was recruiting his ass off when he was there at that program. So there you go. Shug Hafley, is that what you say, Tim?
Yeah.
Shug Hafley and Tupac.
Shug Hafley and Tupac LaFleur, man. Let's go.
All right, man. I think we covered it all, dude. We hit a lot of prospects. I'm going to double check and make sure we can find these guys on our board. I'm pretty sure they're in there. There was something, it kept throwing an error message when I would search, so I'm sure it was user error. It always is when it comes to me. So anything else you want to hit on before we wrap up, man?
No, I think we definitely uncovered a couple that we need to do a little more research on for sure. And shout out to Easton Butler again, though, with the visit tracker, man. That's awesome this time of year. And shout out to the Patreon, too. Scan that QR code, join the Patreon group, get involved. Show us your prospects.
Definitely, man. Jacob would take that the wrong way if he heard you say show us your prospects, right? There's no doubt about that. But yeah, you scan that QR code in the upper right, it'll send you to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. You can join our awesome Patreon group there. We got one of 3 tiers you can join. As long as you remember one of those 3 tiers, that'll enter you into the giveaways. We're also going to do a really cool draft contest this year. We got to come up with the exact rules, but the gist of it is everyone's going to take their swing at a mock draft, and you can only have one mock draft, okay? And with that mock draft, whichever person hits on the most draft picks, right? And we'll probably prioritize it by earliest to latest or something like that. We'll come up with some specific rules and tiebreakers, but whoever gets the most accurate version of the Packers mock draft, then we will be doing a giveaway of some sort. But we are going to be doing a giveaway. I think what we're going to do, Tim, let's do this giveaway for the autographed Dorsey Levens jersey. Let's do it, and remind me of this. Let's do it during the Reese's Senior Bowl, okay, come Saturday. So we're going to be doing a live stream, a live watch party, I should say. So you guys can go pop the Reese's Senior Bowl on your TV. I think NFL Network's covering it. You can also find it online through NFL.com, NFL Plus, all that good stuff. And if you want to watch along, mute the TV, hang out with us. We're going to be breaking down these prospects in real time as they do interesting stuff. It's not going to be as filled content like when we're doing a pod, we're doing a live show. We typically try to no dead air, right, Tim? That's the rule, no dead air. But with that, there's going to be some dead air. We're just going to be hanging out with the chat, talking all,
eating chips, eating pizza.
It's going to be the most unprofessional thing you've ever seen in your whole life. And you guys have become accustomed to that here with this particular program. So, all right, man. What is this? 2-0 for this. Can you make the Larry wheel a ref wheel because it's rigged? Oh, I like it, Tim. Should we change the pinky wheel to one of those dirtbag refs? Should we do that, man?
As long as it's this guy.
God, I love it, man. It's so spot on. By the way, I did hit Wes Hawkins back with that. I don't know if he liked it or unfollowed me, but I didn't check. I was too scared to check back. But when he quote tweeted me and put Brad Allen, and I responded with that because one of the listeners asked for it, and I'm sure that's when Wes probably went ahead and blocked me. So, Wes is awesome, man. We're blessed to have the people that cover the Packers. Wes Hawkins, I think, does a great job. I think Mike Spockford does a great job too. Larry McCarron and Wayne Larrabee, the best. I'm telling you, they're the best radio team in all of professional football. There's no doubt in my mind.
For sure.
And then to have John Kuhn kind of working behind the scenes with some of the preseason stuff. Excellent work there. It's just awesome, man. We're blessed to be Packer fans, no doubt. So
for sure.
All right, that's it, guys. We will the chat's always out of control. We will see you guys tomorrow morning for Good Morning Lambeau, 8:30 a.m. Central Time. Tomorrow, Tim, we will break down the article, okay? We're going to break down the –
We'll be ready to go for sure.
We're gonna do it, all right? The Daniel Jeremiah mock draft 1.0, we're going to show who he took with the Packers. We're going to show the entire mock draft. I thought it'd be kind of cool to follow along, right? and do our own mock draft off to the side. I could be doing it with it off the screen. You could read off the draft picks for me, Tim, and then we could pick it. And then when it comes to the Packers pick, we'll know who Daniel Jeremiah took, but we can look at the board and go, who would we take? Do we agree with it? I thought that'd be a cool little exercise.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So just remind me, I'll forget that I said that was the idea to do. Okay.
I'm writing another Post-it note right now. I can't even see my screen. They got all Post-it reminders on it now.
And then also the 33rd team had a really cool article too on, I believe, some of the players to watch for the East-West Shrine game, or it was the Reese's Senior Bowl. So whichever one it was, we'll hit that article as well. And who knows, we may have time to do a mock draft. So again, thanks to everybody in the chat. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Hit that like button on your way out. Feel free to sub to the channel. We appreciate you, like I said, making us a part of your evening. We'll see you in the morning for Good Morning Lambeau. Everybody have a great night. Stay warm out there.
And we go. We out.
Bye, guys.